Well, hello, good morning, happy Friday. All of you around the United States, we have callers in from around the world. I'm your co-host today, Ryan Napierski, President and CEO of New Skin Enterprises. And today I have my co-host, Steve Hatchett, Global Chief Product Officer. Is that the latest title?
Something like that. Bottle washer, garbage collector.
Bottle washer, garbage collector. That's actually true. Steve's, your manufacturing background, you did all of those jobs plenty of times. So,
true.
Steve, thanks for joining us today. Our fearless leader, Buck McMurray, is out with his wife doing some medical procedures, nothing urgent. But we would urge everyone to get your colonoscopy if you hit over 50.
There you go.
I just did mine. That's not saying Buck's getting his done, but very important to keep healthy, keep active, all of that. So, Steve, we're going to dive into a few things today, and I'm really excited to have a couple on from the U.S. who are going to be amazing and share some amazing thoughts around the beauty and wellness journey. But before we get there, Steve, I want to talk about, we have a couple of things to go through. I know you had a Global Blue Diamond call last night.
Yeah, we did.
Covered a lot of good stuff.
We missed you.
Well, I'm sorry, I was busy, but we also had so we have the latest and greatest Dr. Joe Chang, New York Times best-selling book, The Aging Myth, that is now in hard copy. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, it was only available via the internet, and the soft copy. Everyone kept saying, "I want a hard copy that I can put my hands on." Well, it's here. It came yesterday. It's now available via Amazon and some other places. So yeah.
I love it. So Steve, there's a part in this book, and you had flagged it for me, but I think we've had Dr. Joe Chang. Everyone on this call knows Dr. Joe Chang, truly one of the world's leading experts in anti-aging genomic research. Certainly here at New Skin for more than 25 years, exploring aging. And what he describes as the aging myth. And, one of the most touching stories in this book, Steve, and it's maybe particularly close to me, having my father just passing, was when Joe talked about when this really became a life passion for him. And he talked about his mother versus his father's aging process. Yeah. And how vibrant and spry his mother was all the way up until death. But his father had mounds and mounds of health complications along the way. And, as I reflected, in fact, Joe texted me just a few days ago, as my father just passed last weekend, had the funeral yesterday. Thanks for coming.
Of course.
Always the New Skin family.
That's right.
Showing up. But, I thought a lot about it, and I texted Joe back, and I said, Joe, thanks for sharing this story about your dad. I had the same experience with my dad, who lost his leg due to an accident when he was very young. Finally had his leg taken off at 62, and lost a lot of mobility. Yeah. And mobility, as we know, is the key to longevity, or at least one of four keys to longevity. Certainly impacted his lung capacity, his circulatory system, and all of that. But in addition to that, he never really ate well. He was kind of the Coke. And then he went to the caffeine-free Coke, and then he went to the caffeine-free Diet Coke guy. But he never watched his diet, never did nutritional supplementation. I will say, in the last 5-7 years of his life, he didn't have health span, and he lived till 82, which is phenomenal. I always say I'm going to live to 100, but he didn't make it that long. But it was, I think, a consistency or an inconsistency of life choices. Around diet, fitness, lifestyle, and supplementation that he really wasn't aware of. And I'm not calling him out and blaming him in any ways. I think the world just didn't emphasize that when he was younger. Right. The benefits of exercise, the benefits of a healthy diet, the benefits of sleep and supplementation. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm glad you brought the book. I mean, this page, just so you know, this very first page, when Joe starts, I don't know if you can see that. You can pick up on that, guys. But Joe's there with his family. It's a really cute picture, actually, of Joe.
Yeah, Joe's a lot cuter in that picture.
He is a lot
cuter.
Sure. And but what's funny is that Joe begins with the end in mind, as they say, and says, okay, as you said, Mom, great. Dad, maybe not so great. And why? And as Joe says, we come down with certain DNA, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the reality of life. I mean, there's some things that we can't change, and the way we've been given our DNA is just out of our hands. So that's what I call an uncontrollable, right? And what is controllable is the four things that you talked about. How do we take care of our bodies? And that's what we talk about. In fact, his exact, so he started with the end in mind, and then his last comment in this book, and the reason I keep using this is because he basically says essentially that it's up to us. It's you that make the final decision on your life and whether or not you actually will take the measures needed to be able to perhaps make lifestyle changes, make changes in terms of your diet, make changes in terms of the supplementation, because we know, as I showed yesterday, in fact, I don't know if they have from my Blue Diamond call yesterday, I had a summary of the Lancet report that basically had Harvard study.
I think it's the next click. They've got
right?
it seen. There we go.
Here it is right here. Okay,
Yep,
good.
yep.
So, I mean, I shared this last night, and I think it's so powerful that people understand that the world is deficient in nutrients. And it's been said time and time and time again. So even if you're eating fruits and vegetables a lot, maybe those fruits and vegetables have the nutrients in them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't. Mostly, we've been financially supporting size and sweetness and taste, right? We haven't really been focusing on how much beta carotene, how much nutrients, how much vitamin E is in different fruits and vegetables. It's more about taste and size, and that's volume, and they want to get volume out, right? So in an effort to do that, we've kind of bypassed the nutrients, and as a result of that, even if you're consuming a massive amount of fruits and vegetables, which is great. I mean, it's better than most people, quite honestly. The reality is that supplementation can play a significant role because you know exactly the amount of nutrition you're getting on a daily basis. And we're seeing that time and time again. In fact, there's a recent study.
And before you, so Steve, help everyone understand what this chart means around vitamin E specifically. And you've talked with me about the importance of vitamin E, but explain, what does the chart, so the U.S. is obviously in an orange state,
right?
Which I think blue and green are in this color scheme are good.
That's right.
And orange and red are poor, deficient.
Right. That's right.
What does this, so vitamin E, why is this so important?
Well, this particular study, why it was so groundbreaking was because it was done in 185 countries. It basically covered 99% of the population. It assessed what the diets were in each area of the world, because everybody eats different foods, right? So it says, okay, this is what they're eating in Korea, this is what they're eating in Mexico, this is what they're eating in Argentina, this is what they're eating in Brussels. It really takes into consideration the actual consumption of the foods that people are eating on a daily basis. And so they don't try to give you direction on what you should eat. It just basically says, what are you eating? And this was a report back on what are the nutrients in those foods. So they actually took those foods, and on a daily basis, they said, okay, are people, for instance, in this case, getting enough vitamin E? And as you can see, as you indicated, red essentially means that 100% of people are not getting the amount of vitamin E that their government is saying that they need on a daily basis from the foods they're eating and from their current diet. And I don't see a whole lot of blue in here. I think there might be a little place there in Southeast Asia that might be able to get a little bit of
Micronesia looks like, if you want to live
there you go,
with,
for vitamin
with
E.
high vitamin E,
Right.
you go to Micronesia.
What's interesting about this report is they did
maybe Hawaii?
15 different
or Fiji. I mean, it looks like Fiji. Maybe it's not the Hawaiian Islands.
It's over here in the islands.
Yeah.
But the reality is if you were to switch this to vitamin A, if you go to B vitamins, it just switches because the food is so different. And the reality is that there's no guarantee that the food you eat every single day, which we consume, and even if we think we're eating healthy, the reality is that, basically the research from Harvard and published in Lancet says that the majority of people are nutrient deficient in one or more of these essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, or whatever, calcium, magnesium.
And this is on the natural diet. So if you think about vitamin E, I was just asking chat, why is vitamin E so important? Neutralizes free radicals, prevents lipid preoxidation, and keeps cell membranes intact. All of that sounds really important for cellular health.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't naturally get those, except if you live in Micronesia or Fiji on a regular diet basis, requires adequate supplementation.
Right.
And because they need to be on the fat soluble side, you need to also intake fats or omegas or something to absorb that vitamin E into the body. So hard to do without multivitamins. Right. And then, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but because that study you were just about to go into on the importance of multivitamins is key.
Well, I'm so glad you stopped me, because this sets the context so people understand a little bit better, and these amazing leaders and the people who are sharing this information. Because sometimes we get into wellness.
Yeah.
It becomes this black box of, okay, carotenoids and antioxidants and fat solubles and, essential fatty acids and everything. And it can get very complicated. The simple thought is, number one, there's nutrient deficiency globally.
Yeah.
Number two is that more and more the science continues to validate what Joe has been saying for years, which is that some things we can control, some things we can't control, and we can control whether we actually take a supplement on a daily basis. And so Melanie Riggs, who's our great clinician, as you know, and this is
fantastic.
This is what we have at New Skin. So I was talking about Yoko Little last night. She did all this amazing research on what's happening with Prism and the great success that they're having around the world in certain areas and how they're building the business. And she did all that survey information. I shared that last night. Happy to go into it if you want to later today. But this is what's funny is at 4 o'clock in the morning, I usually get a text message from Melanie Riggs who says, have you seen the new study coming out of Mass General Brigham? And I'm like, this is great. I mean, this is the type of people you want working at the company who are so committed and are looking for the most recent information. And the headline reads, Cosmos trial results show daily multivitamin use may slow biological aging. And they basically took just under 1,000 people who were at roughly about 70, and they measured them over 2 years, and they said, okay, there's a placebo group, and there's a multivitamin group. Now, this wasn't LifePak. I don't want to try to pretend like this was done by New Skin. It wasn't. It's completely independent, and at Mass General Brigham, they are a widely known, what I call community of scientists and doctors who help people with their overall health. So they're not into the nutrition scene. They're more focused on research and innovation and education. So what they did is they said, okay, here's multivitamins. We're going to insert that in and a placebo in. And they also did, I think, a cocoa extract and some other things. Okay. And what they found was, if you look at the data, they said in the 5 measurements of biological aging, all 5 actually improved when you introduce a multivitamin, to the extent that by up to 4 months in certain areas. So over a 2-year period of time. So how much is 4 months worth to you? I mean, like we've been talking about. I mean, that's a big deal. That's over 2 years. So I mean, that's huge. And so these are doctors who are
and you're
doing
saying
this research.
But you're saying, see, the study was at age 70.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of research out there and studies that say that some of the most and more critical years, I mean, decade by decade, your 40s to your 50s to your 60s,
that's right,
because you're setting kind of that foundation. But you're saying even at 70,
yes,
by starting a multivitamin,
that's right,
there was a 4-month improvement according to the Mass General study.
Yes.
Which is fascinating. So it's not about, it's never too late.
No.
Right? To start that journey wherever you are. I would argue that the earlier that you start that process, the more compounding benefits you're going to have throughout your life.
And that's what Joe says here. He says the sooner you start the path of treating your body right. Like he said, exercise, trying to get the best food you can possibly get, getting the right amount of sleep, protecting yourself from the sun exposure, trying to do the best you can to reduce stress. And then these supplements can offset the difference, these gaps, these nutrient gaps, these challenges that we have in our life. And the earlier you do that, and I can, for every study I have here of 7-year-olds, I can start talking to you about 21-year-olds and even jungle moles like we talk about for kids. I mean, to be able to have that development at an early age, because it's so hard to get kids to eat the right foods. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of that with Prism and some of the vegetables kids are eating now.
It's so important. I think connecting all these dots, and every time we talk about Prism and we talk about the journey we're on, the diet, fitness, lifestyle, supplementation, I call it the wellness clover, right?
Yeah.
It just reemphasizes there's mounds and mounds of research, and I just continue to come back to one stat that we looked at a few months ago that says around 35% of people are conscious of their nutritional health. So 1/3 of people are conscious of it. 2/3 still are not. Right. We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So. And I know we want to jump in. In fact, appreciate the comments that are coming in. Please, if you have questions, thoughts along the way as we get going through there, put them in here, and we'll answer those along the way.
And Ryan, can I just say to your point, that's really the key about Prism. It makes the invisible visible.
Yes.
Because you said this 2/3 of people who aren't even cognizant of it. Now you have a third who were saying, like, how do I measure? And they didn't really have anything. Now they have Prism. And for the 2/3, sometimes you just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And so this is the perfect way to start and or validate what you're currently doing or invalidate what you're currently doing.
It's just so important. I know we talk about this a lot at New Skin, right? Our mission to be a global force for good by empowering people to look, feel, live better. There's no more important work, really. I mean, our time on the planet's finite. Being able to do this work is amazing, and I think it's a good time for us to kind of segue into our guests as we go. And so I'm going to just take a moment to introduce Frank and Abby Gibson to you all. Many of you know Frank and Abby from years here at New Skin, but let me introduce the two of them because I've spent a lot of time on them. I've had them on the Empower podcast, and I'm just so impressed with these two individuals for their commitment to being a force for good. We had an opportunity to spend time together down in Malawi at our charitable work with Force for Good and Nourish the Children last year. In fact, we're going back there, Steve, in May with our team elites and our platinum elites. But Abby and Frank are interesting because they're an amazing couple. And Abby, I believe they're living in Oklahoma. I'm quite certain of that. But Abby really started the business, which was pretty interesting. There we are. Look at these two. They're a walking billboard. It's unbelievable. But Abby started. Look at those teeth. Abby started in the business and literally became the first time I met Abby. I said, Abby, your smile is infamous around New Skin or famous around New Skin. Everyone was talking about it before toothpaste, our AP24, really exploded. And Abby, you came into the business doing toothpaste. Your husband, Frank was a football player, and by a proper football player, according to Australian standards and Irish standards, playing professional football down in Australia. Frank and Abby, I love your story, and maybe you can tell that of how you met and how just convicted you were that this was the right path to be on. But that was kind of your foray into the business back in, I think, 20 something like that. But let me just quickly say, and then I'll shut up and turn the time to you guys. What I've loved to see recently is the two of you coming together. Frank was very successful in the oil and gas industry. So nothing to do with skincare, nothing to do with wellness, but everything to do with fitness over his lifetime. And if you don't follow Frank, I think it's called Frank the Tank on Instagram. You can watch Frank going through, taking guys through a health and wellness transformation. You've embraced this thing and you're doing the business now together. And what I love about it is you're bringing beauty and wellness together, and you're just in the early stage. Again, I always say you just hit off of the first tee box on an 18-hole course. So we're learning, we're adapting, but welcome to the podcast and introduce yourselves.
Well, thank you so much for having us on, first and foremost. I'm Frank. This is Abby, obviously. It's been an interesting ride. We got married 2016. I was living in Australia at the time. I was playing soccer. We met at a wedding. I came back to Oklahoma for a wedding and we met and then never looked back. But yeah, Abby's been doing it for almost 10 years. When we started having kids, I realized that even though I was having some success in other industries, I didn't really own my own time. And so that's the reason I came on board like 2021. And we just continued the vision. We've seen what was coming and we tried to find our own lanes within the industry. And it's been a fun ride. It's been very exciting, very fun. And like you said, we feel like we're just teeing off right now and coming together and really seeing like a true avenue for us both, not just to work in our own lanes, but also together.
So good. And Abby, tell us a little bit about how you got into the business and where you are right now in your evolution. I'd almost call you're in chapter 2, right? You were highly successful in the beauty side of the business while that was going through social commerce. And then business dynamics evolve, business environments change. Everyone goes back in, from COVID and the lockdown into a new phase, but you've kind of entered this chapter 2. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, so it'll be 10 years in August, which is insane
That's
because
crazy.
I'm not old enough to be doing anything for 10 years, right? No, but I started 10 years ago. I was working in a cubicle. I had a customer rep sales position and it was awful. Ryan, I've talked to you about this before. I think of myself as one of the most positive, optimistic. I always say I'm toxically positive. And I'm in this environment where I hated every day. I felt like I was in a black tunnel and there was no light at the end of it. I felt like there was no way out. And I found my lifelong friend, Rebecca Fair. Everyone knows her, and she's posting about this whitening toothpaste. I loved white teeth. I prided myself in my smile, but I was so broke that I couldn't get whitening strips. And I was like, you know what? I can try this toothpaste. I saw results and I saw her living the life that I wanted online. She had choice over her time. And so I was like, Becca, whatever you're doing, I thought it was a scam. I was so ignorant to what network marketing was. I could laugh about it now that I had no idea, but I was so desperate. I was willing to do anything. And I was like, I'm going to do what you do. And so I stayed coachable. We had a rocket ship of success. It was the time of our lives. And so that was nearly 10 years ago. But obviously times change and we evolve, like you're saying, and we've pivoted and now we're entering into this wellness space. But we are, like you said, Ryan, mixing it with beauty. I'm still talking about my Lumi Spa. I'm still talking about my skincare. But skincare starts from the inside out, right? I've had that personal transformation myself, and Frank has lived it for 2 decades. And so we've taken our expertise as both, I was a Division I college soccer player. He was better, a semi-pro professional soccer player, and we're taking that history, that experience, my own personal transformation, his own devotion to health and wellness, his absolute geeking out in it, and we're finding a new space online and offline, both together and separately, and with our team, and it's just been a wild ride, and I feel like we're entering the best decade. I've only been in here for 1 decade, but this is going to be the best decade. And I believe it for the entirety of New Skin. So we're so excited, so passionate.
So Abby, you hit on this, and so every time Steve and I talk about wellness, said is exactly what you said, which is that well or beauty starts from the inside out. And Steve, you always talk about why beauty is so important in the journey. Maybe just a couple thoughts from you on why this is so important. Why does beauty first of all start from the inside out, and then second of all, why is skincare so important in the wellness journey?
Well, I appreciate that. Well, first of all, Exhibit A,
Yeah,
the Gibson.
that's true. That's true.
Look, that's
Yeah.
perfection right there.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's absolutely what's happening on the inside. It's kind of like those stories about the trees that they kind of rot from the inside, or they can be strengthened from the inside, and then you see the manifestation in the leaves and so forth. But the reality is, AP24 is a great example because people look at that as if think it's toothpaste, then it's just toothpaste, right? But if you think of it as oral health, that's a different approach. And that's the approach that Nu Skin takes. It's the difference demonstrated. It's not just whitening teeth, but it's helping oral health. And you're thinking about New Biome, it's helping gut health. Now, people say, well, there's no carotenoids in New Biome. Yeah, I know. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get probiotics and prebiotics into your gut so you can get better absorption of the carotenoids that do come in and get absorbed and help go into the body. And then you talk about dramatic effects. Well, how does that? No, it absolutely, if you actually read the structure function claims associated with dramatic effects, it's significant in terms of a topical. And then you tie tea green to it, which actually combines. I don't know if you've seen the combination of tea green and dramatic effects, it's significant. And we actually did a little study on it last. I think it was Melanie brought it up to me the other day, and she said, Steve, have you seen that landmark research that's been done on tea green, and specifically on twice a day for 2 years? They experienced fewer fine wrinkles, less overall sun damage compared to the control group by taking tea green 97, and it helps give the skin protection it needs to look smoother and more hydrated and youthful. People are saying, wait a second, tea green does that? And it's like, yeah, back to Abby's great point, which is essentially it's from the inside out. Tea green, collagen, of course, we know the protein associated with that. And I mentioned this in Argentina, by the way, Ryan. I said, we're one of the biggest protein companies in the world. And they said, no, we're collagen. And I said, yeah, that's a protein. Collagen is a protein. In fact, it's 30% of our body's protein. And so from that standpoint, you think about it, wow, That's a big deal. So from the inside out,
Yeah.
we're working.
So Abby and Frank, you guys are are deeply down on this journey of transitioning the business from the beauty side into the wellness side. Talk with us a little bit about how that transition has started. Kind of what's working. We just want to dive into where you're at in your business, and then I want to get into what are some of these new and creative ways that you guys are redefining yourselves and putting yourselves out there, including Frank's work on Frank the Tank, which Frank, I love some of those workout principles you're applying. I'm trying to apply those. I notice our weight is quite different, what you're lifting versus what I'm lifting, but still, it's okay. You're giving me a good a head start to go after. But talk about the journey.
Yeah, so I think with the transition, especially with the scanner and then into Prism, has been a real game changer because for guys, they don't often see their lane within the beauty. They don't necessarily recognize that beauty is their first and foremost. So then they won't necessarily come to Abby to be like, "Hey, I want to be healthy." Like I want to. They want, but they do see the fitness side and the health side, and the conversations that I've been having just by having the Prism in my hand and opening up the door. Like for instance, today I'm after this call, I'm driving down to a college. I'm going to scan a class, and it's a health class. I'm going to do like a presentation, scan them, and then I'm scanning a soccer team right after it. So there's so many people that didn't see how this would fit into their life. I've not talked to a single person about Prism that can't see how it fits in their life, whether it be busy mums that want it in their house for their family, whether it be like trainers in the gym, as like dentists, like even looking at nutritional health and looking how they can broaden out. But I think what's important for me is I'm having conversations with guys that want to push themselves and like want to change their body composition or whatever it may be. But then they start to fatigue or they feel like it's just with age that all of a sudden they can't recover as quickly or they don't have the same energy. And really, when we get them into the supplementation side of things, they start to understand that it's not just because you're getting older, it's because your body's not got the nourishment that it needs. And when you can show that time and time again how it's just completely impacted someone's life, they have more energy, all of a sudden everything in their life's improving. They're better relationships, better fitness, more energy in the gym, they recover better. And so it just becomes when you're just constantly showing people that they can feel better, look better, and that they can get better, it's just you just become like emotionally attached to it. Truly, like you just want it for more and more people, and that's kind of been the transition for me.
Yes, and for me on social, it's been so simple. Whenever people have been a little hesitant, because it is brand new, if you've been posting about cellulite cream and you've been posting about Lumi Spa and whatever, Tanner, you're like, I'm not a supplement expert. How am I going to make my social business about supplements in the Prism? I'm like, it's your story. And your story is the most powerful thing that you can use to sell. And so for me, I have been talking about my journey through motherhood. We have 3 kids. I want my kids healthy. I don't want them at home when they're supposed to be at school, all right? I know you guys were probably thinking I was going to be like, I want them to be their best selves. No, I don't want them sick and at home and missing school. So we actually both started on our stories taking out the Prism, scanning our kids. Our kids are obsessed. Our oldest son, Brody, every morning it's his job to make a caffeine-free new biome and a colostrum for himself and his 2 sisters. And then they all take that. They all ask for their G3 shots, and we just started filming it. We started filming them, us scanning them and their conversations around that. Thanks to Charlie Patterson, we had little bets going on. Whoever gets the highest score gets their dollar. I never knew something like $1 could get your kids so motivated to eat broccoli. And we're sharing this story, right? And so all of the moms are texting me and they're like, what is this? My kid has had the flu. They've been so sick, and I need to help them build up their immune system. I need to get them stronger. I need them to want something besides mac and cheese and frozen chicken nuggets. Like, what are you guys doing? And so that's one story piece. And then I have been selling skincare, dramatic effects. We have talked heavily about one of our top sellers is already new biome. And just what Steve was saying, maybe it's not going to directly impact your scanner score, but if your gut is a wreck, then it absolutely will. And I have that story of a wrecked gut where I was always exhausted. It showed on my face, fine lines, acne. I'm having to take a nap during the day just to get through the day. I'm missing moments with my kids. They don't even realize that their dad's not the only athlete. And whenever I passed a soccer ball to him, that was like one of the turning points in my life. My son was like, wow, good job, mom. And I was like, nope, this is it. This is it. My son is not going to know me as the good job, mom. You can hang with us. He's going to know me as, dang, mom just whooped my butt in soccer. I need to get better. And so that was the turning point, and I'm sharing that. And so for all my Lumi Spa customers, like, man, yes, topically, this is going to do everything you want it to do and more. But if you get your gut right, if you get healthy from the inside out, you are going to be glowing. And that's been the conversation for weeks for me, honestly, as people say, you're looking different. You're glowing different. There's something fresh about you. And I've been so insanely devoted to my supplementation, to my collagen, to my new biome, to all of the pill form supplements as well. And I'm like, it's the inside, y'all. I'm finally fixing the inside. And so the transition has been so fun, so simple. It's sharing my story and taking people along with it when it comes to my family and myself. And it's online and in person. If you're around me, you're going to get scanned and you're going to hear about this. And now it's the conversation with our friends. All of our friend group, they have scanners and they're sending everyone scanner score and they're talking about supplements. When we're at dinner, I used to always carry in my purse my new biome, my M Smart, and my colostrum. And now, and I'd share it with my friends. I'm like, okay, before we eat this Mexican dinner, you guys need this. Now I bring it and everyone's like, oh, no, I brought mine and I have extras. Like, it is the culture, and we're creating that from our own story.
You know, it's so interesting. You said a few things. Well, you said a bunch of things, but we got to hone in on a few things
I talk
that I
too
think were
much.
so powerful. And one that I want to just click into further and just stay on this topic of the family journey and how interesting, applicable, and natural this is. So, Frank, you're talking about, listen, this is just so natural for me to go in and talk about wellness. And wherever I am, I just take my Prism, and it just comes up in every conversation. Abby, you're talking about it's not as natural for you to post on social media, or it wasn't, but it was so natural for you to post upon Sunless Tanner, which freaks me out. The idea of posting on social about Sunless Tanner, I have no idea how to do that. But I'm more in Frank's camp of, yeah, my wellness journey is very natural. So your point of, listen, finding the way to do this. And so what you did is you pivoted to the family journey, which is so natural for you. And again, every business is built within one's warm market, right? I mean, we heard from Scott Bennett a week or so ago that he's only technically recruited 2 people into the business. Everyone else has come from that process of the concentric circles in the pond. But you're talking about this family journey and how natural that is. And now your friends, your families, your neighbors, it's just part of what you do. And I think to me, that's the easiest business to build on the planet when you're not having to sell anything. You're simply together on a journey. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, and I feel when you're passionate about something, it's contagious. Like you can't help but talk about it. And when you see someone's transformation, you can't help but want that for more people. So again, it's just it is a natural thing. It's hard to not want the very best for people, and so the Prism allows us to do that.
It's so good. The other thing that you had talked about is the body's energy source. And, I was thinking about, Frank, when you said that, that you're feeling tired, or Abby, you're saying, yeah, I wasn't getting up and kicking the soccer ball with my kids, and yet I played D1 soccer, and I'm going to change that. I think this is something that we all severely, from a diet perspective, we all severely under realize. We would never. So I'm missing a race this weekend. I would never put anything less than race fuel in my race car, or else it's going to literally burn the engine out, right? The fact that we eat that we eat, I won't call any, that we eat fast food that we drink massive amounts of soda. There's a company right here in the Valley that's worth billions of dollars right now, feeding people $6 sodas and literally killing the planet with sugar. won't go down that path. It, it's so interesting to me to see how casual we all are about the fuel that we put in our bodies, and yet we all also understand the challenges of the busy, hectic, chaotic lifestyles that we're all living now. You take your kids to school, and then you run them to soccer practice, and then they're getting homework, and you don't have time to cook the types of meals, right, that we all grew up on. And so that's where this supplementation comes in. And you're talking about the G3 shots, getting our kids to ask for nutritious food or even supplementation because they're not getting it in the natural course of the day. To me, that's just a breakthrough. But what experiences are you guys having on that, like family-based approach to building the business?
Yeah, I will say what a turning point for me was I used to always like I'd track my calories. I wanted to look a certain way. I'd like semi bulk then cut, and I was never looking at the true nutritional side. I was just looking at like calories in, what my protein was, and that was a detriment to me because again, when I would cut, I would be now I can cut or fast, and I don't feel drained. I don't feel lethargic. And it's because my nutrition is right. I'm fueling my body with what it needs. I'm filling in those gaps that was missing. And you're 100% right. Even the food that we do eat, organic, whatever, the nutritional density of what it used to be in comparison to what it is now is it's not even close. So the gaps are there. There's no doubt about that. And so it's just become such a natural thing for us to be like, okay, I want this. Like my body craves this. I know that I need this. If I want to be at my very best, I'm going to take this. And it's just so simple. But with our kids, the same thing. I feel like we're more conscious, especially like my son playing soccer. Like I'm very conscious on like each day, like when he's before he plays a game, I'm going to give him his green shake and he's going to have everything he needs. And but like you said, on the day to day, when he's coming back from school and we're just trying to rush through a meal, at least I know if he hasn't had his green shake or if we haven't had the nutritionist meal ready for him, then I know that those gaps are being filled by what else we're giving him. So I know that even on a bad day, they're getting what they need.
Yeah, that's so good. And just FYI, our son's 7. He's getting like protein shakes before he plays. Frank's like, we got to get you in the ice bath. But Ryan, your question, it I think it's based off culture. It's become a culture of ease, of convenience. It's become a culture of we need something fast and everyone's doing it, so it can't be that bad. And I think that we've forgotten as a whole that our food is our skincare. It is our insurance. It is what protects us, fuels us, and the culture's just gotten so far away from that. And when everyone is doing it, you kind of make yourself think it's not that bad. And so we're getting to change culture. And that's what we've gotten to do in our friend group. So now it's so normal that their kids take supplements, our kids take supplements. This is how we eat. This is what we eat in between games. This is how we fuel, and we're going to scan to prove it and show our kids this is why we're doing it and how it affects you. And so I think it's incredible. We're all on this journey together to change culture. And what I've found business wise is moms are much more likely to invest in their children than them in themselves. But as they're seeing that change in their kids, it's like, oh my gosh, my kids aren't going to do what I say, they're going to do what I show. And so I've got to be taking this drink with them. I've got to make my drink. My girls are obsessed. If anyone sees me on stories, you're always going to see Frankie in my stories because I start making my drink and she thinks it's camera time. She's like, I got to get my drink. Mom, wait, I got to sit up here. And because I share it and that we talk about that is our business, but this is what I do. And they want to be like mom. They're my 2 most precious little girls in the world. They want to be like me. And so what am I showing them? Not what am I telling them, but what am I doing myself? And I've found for the business and when it comes to selling, and I put that in a quote because really you're just shifting culture. You're shifting family units and how they feel and how they interact and what they do. And you get to be the key person in that and like lighting that fire. And so I've seen like you talk to moms and you ask them like, if you're doing an assessment, like, do you feel like you are nourishing your children? Like the diet that they're on, is it is it healthy? And they stop and they think for the first time, probably in a long, long time, subconsciously, we all know McDonald's, so we won't name names, it sucks. We shouldn't eat it. It's not real. But you don't think about it until someone asks you, and then it's at the forefront of your mind. You're like, man, I got to make changes, and I'm willing to do anything for my kids. And at the same time, if you're willing to invest in your kids, you've got to be willing to invest in yourself because you who you are is who they're going to become. And so I found that it is simple, it's effective, it's fun, and there's nothing more fulfilling than getting to be a tiny, tiny part and seeing another family change and the culture around you shift, the culture in their family shift.
You know this, so you both have made some of these comments around these natural conversations that are taking place, and then Abby, you said earlier, it's kind of this blending on the social side, and Frank's talking on the person to person side. And I was just thinking about what I love about your stories, Abby, and your stories, Frank, is I feel like social media is almost like the lines in the water, placing lines in the water so that anyone who sees those, you bump into them next at the kids' soccer game, at a PTA meeting, at the gym. They're like, what is that thing you're posting? I mean, I get this all the time, right? Because I try to post a couple times a week and I literally, I was at the club the other day and a guy walks up, he's like, hey, I saw you on social. What is this thing? Like it literally measures your supplementation. But your point around just putting yourself out there on social media, to me, is literally like putting 100 or 1,000 lines in the water every time you post. And then whoever you see throughout the day, the week, it almost becomes a natural invite. And I've found people ask me, what are you doing? Like, what is this thing? Is that kind of how you see it? And then you said, Abby, the assessment comes in, but it kind of, the social is the hooks in the water, or the whatever, the lines in the water. Then it's the personal conversation that leads to an assessment. But walk us through that process of how you guys look at it as well. Am I wrong? Am I right? Like how does it work?
No, that's spot on. I think that sometimes social media is like about getting over yourself. And a key moment when someone said to me, like, is what someone else thinks about you going to stop you putting food on the table for your children? And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So that kind of got over the fear of like being able to post on social media. And then also like I want to add value to someone. If there's something that I'm doing that's working for me, I want to show that. Like, why would I not? I'm under the impression that I want to help people. Like, truly, that first and foremost, I want to help people, and whether that be a story with a tiny bit of information in it. But like you said, all I'm doing is sharing something that I love, or maybe throwing out a tip there that can help someone. And for me, that's enough. But yeah, time and time again, people are coming to me and asking me, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Why do you take that? Why are you drinking that? And it's just something that I'm doing every day. Why would I not share it? And then hopefully add some value. But on the business aspect of it, for sure, it opens more doors than you could imagine.
Yes. And so online, anytime someone asks me a question about what supplement, or we've gone heavy, heavy into new biome and
I'm smart.
no, I just went blank. Collagen. It was smart and sorry, new biome and collagen. So anytime someone asks me about it online, I'm answering. They're like, "Can I get this?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" And also like, tell me what you're feeling. Why do you feel like you need it? Because they have other things going on. We all do. And so then they'll answer me, "Well, I've been so tired. I've been so bloated. Like every time I eat, even if I eat salad, I'm bloating." And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so there might be some more things going on. And I'm actually doing one-on-one assessments. And I think that we could get you a customized stack that's going to meet all those needs. I definitely like my new biome and my collagen are my foundational stack. And you need that. But let's get on a quick call, or if they're in person, let's go grab a coffee and let's get you exactly what you need. And so that's one way to take it online to offline. And then the other way is my eyes are out for the girls. He'll handle the guys. For the girls who are walking, the girls that are in the gym, the girls that are sharing recipes or protein hacks, or they're asking questions, my eyes are open and on alert for those people, because those people are going to be interested in what I have. And so then I am messaging them. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so motivated by your morning workout. Like, I have something that I think that you would be incredibly interested in, and do you want to meet up, or do you have 30 minutes to get on a call? And so I'm also approaching people too, because not everyone sees my stories, right? I have like 5,500 followers on Instagram, maybe. But maybe only 600 or 900 people see my stories. There's a massive gap. So I'm going to be the hunter as well. So those are the two ways that I'm doing it.
Ryan, I got it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I
please.
want to build on what Frank said because there's a couple things that I see interwoven in all of this. When I was in Argentina recently, I was so shocked by this. Nabby, you're going to probably think this is pretty interesting too. And Frank, when you said that comment about who cares what people think, I'm going to feed my family. And I love that approach. And then I saw another side of it. So I'm sitting at dinner with this group of amazing leaders in Argentina. And I'm talking to an individual about how they're building their business. They have about 56,000 followers. They do TikTok, they do Instagram, they do Facebook, they do all these types of things. She goes, I go lifestyle on Instagram. And then if I want to go after sales, I go after TikTok. And I'm going, man, I'm scared of TikTok, quite honestly. I don't even know what to do there. She goes, and then she said this words that I'll never forget. She goes, I love haters. And I was like, what? She goes, I love haters. I was making sure there wasn't a translation issue. I was like, you love haters? And she goes, yes. And I said, why? And she goes, and then she showed me her TikTok and all of the summary. And what she would do is she has, I think, like 56,000 or 60,000 followers and so forth that she has built over the last couple of years. And when she posts on collagen or when she posts on one of the products, there's usually a hater that comes and goes, that doesn't work. That's a bunch of, and so she finds the hater that is like, has the most followers and puts that little comment up in the corner and says, okay, let me address the question that you asked in a very professional way. And so it attracts all the people that said the hate and then all the people, and it opens up the door for her to introduce the science. And that's what I think a lot of people forget at Nu Skin. A lot of these companies out here, they couldn't respond to that hate because they don't have the science. They don't have the clinical substantiation. They don't have the 40 years of research. They don't have a Prism. They don't have a Joe Chang. They don't have the type of body of work that's here. They don't have the 6S process for safety and substantiation. And so Abby, it's kind of funny when I heard I love haters, I thought, whoa, I'd never heard that before. And you should see it. I mean, her biggest post actually had this really mean and nasty comment. And she just was smiling. She goes, isn't it wonderful? And then she did this like 30-second just walk through of the science and substantiation behind our products. And all these people came and said, what is this? Help me understand a little bit more about it. I want to know more about it. It was just really cool. And I hadn't seen that before. So,
Well, and getting into, Abby, you've talked about these assessments. Steve, you're talking about clinicals. I just want to remind everyone, the Prism app, every sprint, meaning about every month, there's a new update coming.
Yeah.
2 new updates that are coming out here. And we've got a wellness assessment that's coming out that's built into the app. And I think that's in the next month, in April.
Right. That's right.
We've got so the wellness assessment or a wellness assessment, you can build your own, but a wellness assessment that's based upon massive amounts of feedback of what's working around the world, not just here in the United States, but out of Austria. There's an amazing Thomas Kogler's team does amazing assessments there. Charlie Patterson, Scott Bennett. We've got leaders in Asia that have informed this. So that's being built in. Steve, we're talking about more AI that's being built in around accessing those clinicals right in the app, right, and available through the app.
We keep getting so much good feedback. And by the way, thank you. It's so good. And some of you guys go, oh, I'm sorry if that comes across a little harsh. It's like, no, are you kidding me? This is the only way we get better. And so a couple things. Yoko Little said, Steve, if you have the opportunity, so you okay. So a couple features coming in April, an April sprint, and she actually put the road. We heard you. So, so Abby, thank you. Frank, thank you. Ability to search and filter scan history to support customers. Number 1, enhanced shop features, easy to subscribe and access product information. Number 2, and then improve scan flow to ensure accuracy. And then she went into features coming in June and back to your AI comments and some other things that are happening. Family scan, improve personalization, and so much more. I mean, it just keeps getting better. And these things keep getting better at no cost to you. It just basically just keeps flowing in and making it more robust and easier for you to help onboard people. And I mean, I have a list here of all the groups because we're only 3 months in.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're only 3 months in, and EU leaders are experiencing this massive adoption with simple scan to life pack model that they're now starting to broadcast. Remember how Galvanic was kind of the starting thing, that kind of half-face demo, and suddenly started to build? We're starting to see this type of thing where people are really understanding the science and they're getting these conversation starters. And like you said, Ryan, you told me the other day, you said, Steve, this is awesome, but sometimes people are confused or scared by Prism. Maybe it's the back end of the story where you talk about the product first, and
Mm.
like for instance, AP24, or you talk about collagen, or you talk about some of these great things. You say you want to validate it, great. Here's your Prism and validate it.
Mm.
And so I think that's the difference.
So much.
So important.
Well, so good. And guys, in the last few minutes, I want to just anything that you want to share about your journey that you think would help the hundreds of people on this call or thousands of people that are going to listen to afterwards. I mean, any final thoughts, words that we haven't covered yet?
I think my biggest piece of advice is just find your story. Everyone has a story. You don't have to be the scientist. I am not the scientist. You can look at Frank and I's social media and see the stark difference in who we are. And that's okay because you are your biggest superpower, and your story is what's going to connect to people because you are not the only one who has felt a certain way. And so share your story over and over and over. Hone in on the product that has changed you and talk about the pain points and talk about what the feeling is once you find something that helps that pain point. You don't have to just stay on the pain point. Talk about the feeling of afterwards. And then you get to go in and say, this is what changed everything for me. And your story is going to look different from everyone. And that's what's unique and powerful. Don't shy away because it's different, or you're not a supplement person, or you're not scientific. Just go with your story. And like Frank said earlier, everyone deserves to feel and have what you do. So do not hold back.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's like if you when you can turn it from like I'm not trying to sell you something, I'm trying to help you. Like I want you to feel what I'm able to feel. And I've had so many conversations with guys that they're like, well, I'm not there yet. Like I just give me like 6 months or let me get to that stage. And I'm like, no, that's not what people want to see. People want to see the journey. They don't like people will relate with me, and then some people can't relate to me. They'll relate to someone starting from square one. And I was like, take people on that journey. That's exciting to me. Like everyone loves the underdog story. Everyone loves to see I started here, I worked so hard and I got to here. Everyone loves to see that. So I would just encourage anyone that's thinking about it to like start, give it a go, and then take people on the journey. You are uniquely positioned to reach only people you can reach. And I think people get so caught up in like, I can't do what they can do. And that's false. You can absolutely reach people. You are an influencer in your own right, whether it be a small circle or a big circle. You have influence. So I would just encourage people to go after it.
Lay it
I
down,
love
big
that.
Frank.
And as we've said a million times, and everyone on this call knows, success in anything is based on passionate consistency over time, right? I mean, I think we often think, okay, I'm gonna work out today, tomorrow, this week, and then a day goes by and you forget. And then, listen, it's just about getting in, posting your first score, and then starting that journey. And by the way, as you said, Frank, you're not selling when you're sharing, and I think that's what's beautiful. And by naturally sharing, you will invite questions, and there's nothing better in sales than questions to you about what are you doing, what is that thing, opening the door. And I have two or three a week, and I don't post like you guys. I'm not nearly as beautiful on as you are, but just the questions that come from that. And so I love it, and thank you for being on this call again. I'm just excited for everyone who embraces this new skin journey. And by the way, we talk so much about wellness. We talk about Prism. We talk about pick a product that you're passionate about. Start your journey, as these folks have said, and start sharing it. And you'll be amazed what consistency over time will bring you. And this business is just about consistency. I always say the only thing that our team elites are the most diverse group of people on this planet. Skill sets, capabilities, personalities. Everyone thinks, oh no, they're all type A's. No, they're all D1 players. No, it's not true. They are so vastly different around the globe. The only thing that is consistent around our global team elites is that they never gave up and they're consistently pursuing their dream. And so that's what this is all about. So Frank, Abby, your family, thanks for sharing the journey. If you, Frank, you're Frank the Tank. You got to follow him on Instagram. Abby, what's your handle? I just shared this
It's
morning,
just,
but
hey, Abby Gibson.
Hey, Abby. That's why I didn't pull up first and foremost. Is Hey, Abby. I kept typing in Abby and I couldn't get her up. But please follow them on Instagram. Just look at what they do. Flattery is the best form of a compliment. Look at what they're doing. You don't need to be them. Build your own story, but look at how people are doing this and find your own way. And with that, you guys, we'll probably wrap up the call. Thank you all for joining. Again, come back next week, 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Buck McMurray will likely be back and hosting, and we'll wish him well. So, anyways, with that, you all,
Thanks,
we'll see you
everybody.
next week. See ya.
My hoe keeps my body alive. Through the lens of tech, I see me thrive. Dance floor, doctor, I prescribe the jive.